Okie dokie. We're all connected now, I think. We're good and dandy. We're gonna play some Hiveswap 14. Okay. Let's see here. Of cleanliness and cleanliness. Yep. This is a dark world. Both because it's night, and because of the brutal struggle for survival among its polyhemochromatic inhabitants, many of whom seem to thrive on havoc and carnage. You'd be interested to see the Michelin Guide entry for Altonia. You're convinced that after a day here, Anne Ryan would sign up with the Little Sisters of the Poor, Genghis Khan and Attila the Hun would join the Quakers, and Adolf Hitler would seek membership in the World Peace Council. Woo, Godwin's Law alert, feeling a little dramatic tonight. Okay. So we have troll here, or we have much more interesting option here. Karako Pierot. Or Pierot. Having learned the dangers of using the public thoroughfares, you've taken to dodging down byways and skulking in rear areas, trying to spy out individuals who look ripe for friendship while avoiding the more criminally insane denizens. Just now you're following a winding footpath through the undergrowth surrounding a neighborhood where the local hives are spaced far apart. You came creeping along this footpath for safety. You should have known better. The undergrowth here is like most of the other life forms in Alternia, evolved to ruthlessly purge the gene pool of the weak and the reasonable. Coiled, spring-loaded stalks with foot-long thorns flanking writhing bushes with razor-edged leaves, which in turn crowd tentacled flora with toothed lobes oozing liquid that hisses and smokes when it touches the ground. Extreme caution is needed. It's just as it's needed in every circumstance on this planet. While your time on Alternia has gotten you accustomed to injuries, you still shrink from being impaled on sprung thorns and dissolved in acid. You should have known that eventually you would have to come up against the local flora, so you proceed discreetly, avoiding poison fronds and trying not to step on tree roots. But suddenly your vegetative focus is interrupted. You hear footsteps on the path, and then around the corner comes a small figure. Oh boy, your music's fun. Clown honks and everything. Its face and horns are painted with smudged black and white marks. Despite its diminutive physique, it has some of the most impressive horns you've seen on any troll. Then the small figure sees you too, and is so startled it jumps a foot, impaling its horns on an overhanging tree branch and sticking there so that small legs pump helplessly in the air. Honk. You beg the small person's pardon and assure him that you were fully as startled as he. You go on to explain that you are not dangerous, but even if you were, you would not want to come to strife with even a small person with horns of that size. Honk? Yes, you'll be happy to help him down as long as he promises not to attack you with the many bladed weapons that are stuffed into his belt, or with a dozen cans of an inexpensive soft drink held in bandoliers crossing his chest. It strikes you suddenly that a neighborly gesture like helping someone whose horns are stuck in the tree branch can scarcely fail to kindle the light of friendship. You dare to hope that this will be the case now. Edging forward, you get close enough to see that around the small clown's neck hangs a dog tag or ID necklace. You tilt your head and crane your neck to read the writing on it. Karako Pierot. If lost, call Branya Ursama. Oh boy, this may be one of her special wigglers. Suddenly this all makes sense. This Karako Pierot must have been one of Veronya's reject wigglers, who, having grown to childhood under her tender care, has gone out into the world to seek his fortune. That would account for his small size, short legs, and small stature relative to his horns. You eagerly pull out your palm husk, happy for an excuse to pester your old friend, but you've got zero signal out here. You wonder if the surrounding vegetation eats palm husk signals, just as it looks like it eats everything else. You disappointedly slip your palm husk back into your pocket. Honk. You apologize for the delay, explaining that you were surprised to find that you appear to have an acquaintance in common, with whom you hope we'll have time to discuss later. For now you are ready, willing, and hopefully able to help him down. You hope he won't be offended if you slip behind him first. It's not that you, object to having bladed weapons or those who stuff dozens of them in their belts, but you feel that the ones he's wearing could ruin the look if he buried it into your torso, however unintentionally. You edge past the weapons, being careful also not to touch the spring thorns growing at the edge of the path where there are trigger roots. Once you're behind Karako, you grasp his horns firmly and pull, withdrawing from the tree branch and allowing him to drop lightly to the ground. Honk. You tell him that he's very welcome, then there's a moment of awkward silence as you try to think of something else to say. Fortunately, your new potential friend is not as devoid of the social graces as you are, and gets the conversational ball rolling himself. Honk? You explain that you are indeed a stranger in these parts, and that you actually don't fit into any of the hemospectrum categories. Wild, right? See, this is just a bit more of a, for me, I think, proof that main character might be a mage. He's not even commenting on the fact that this guy is, like, incomprehensibly speaking. And, like, he's responding to things that this character seems to be asking, even though they're saying is honk. Although not quite as strange as you used to be, you like to think, you're really starting to blend in with the local color. Honk. Well, you'd rather not exhibit your blood just now. You're a couple of quarts low due to the robust conditions of life on Alternia, some of which you recently had the honor of encountering. Oh. You sympathize. Slinking along these hidden paths in the Alternian woods can be tough on the morale. The smell alone is enough to make strong men weep, and the vegetation looks like it was designed by the Marquis de Sade. Not that he knows who the Marquis de Sade is. You can't help but feel that it would be so much better if you only had a scope buddy, you continue. How wonderful it would be to travel these dusky lanes with a kindred spirit, a twin soul, a fellow traveler, an intimate crony. You're such an expert on friend synonyms by now. Honk? No, you haven't met anyone like that either, but you would certainly like to. Your new potential friend is obviously thinking seriously about this issue, so you back off, give him space. You pretend to be deeply immersed in studying one of the razor-sharp leaves on the writhing bushes beside the path. You aren't one to force yourself on others or try to unduly influence their friendship decisions. Okay, well maybe you forced yourself on others in the past and tried to influence their friendship decisions. Maybe you've even done this a lot, but you've recently evolved as a person. You now know that friendship is something that has to come authentically from within. Friendship is spontaneous. Real friendship sprouts naturally from the soil of mutual respect. The best friendships grow and ripen over years, and they're not rushed or forced. Of course, you've only known this small person for about 5 minutes, but you have to start ripening sometime. You're reflecting thus on the theme of friendship when a loud pours suddenly from the sky above you. It's a crackling, sizzling sound, like a chitinous thing with too many legs struggling in a hot frying pan. Karako jumps so violently that he nearly gets his horns stuck in the tree again. Looking up, you see a floating metal object, vaguely troll-shaped, but huge, faceless metal, and with numerous sets of lightning bolt-shaped horns coming out of its head and neck. It's also not very sparkling conversations. It remarks in a flat, echoing blare. It elaborates further. Hug. Leap to your proto-friend's aid. You quickly leap to your proto-friend's aid. Thinking quickly, you push Karako against a large rock that juts out of the undergrowth and jump in front of him, shielding him from the drone with your body. You then pretend to be leaning against the rock in the attitude of tranquil repose. Several of the bladed weapons in Karako's belt poke you in the ass, but you don't let the show on your face. Instead, you yawn elaborately and check your wristwatch. You don't have a wristwatch, but you don't think drones know what a wristwatch is anyway. You pretend to smoke a non-existent cigarette. Again, you're not giving anything away, because drones don't know what cigarettes are either. But the drone has apparently taken an interest in you. It floats down between the trees and undergrowth and hovers above the path several meters from where you are when you're pretending to relax against a rock. After a long day of hiking through the scenic shit-smell forest. It's quite a terrifying sight, actually. The drone observes soullessly and making Karako jump so that several of your internal organs are threatened. However, you maintain what you believe is the local populace would call the stiff upper whistle pillow. The drone's blank metal head studies you, or it could be studying something in the opposite direction, or even taking the drone equivalent of a piss. But you can't really tell from its expression because it has no features to make expressions with. This examination or non-examination continues for some time. But your diminutive potential friend is well hidden from view, and after a while, evidently concluding that you are an inanimate object that makes uncomfortable gestures with its wrists and fingers, the drone floats upwards again, gaining speed until, with a dreary it whizzes off somewhere to find some of their hapless non-standard citizens to euthanize. When it's gone, you stand away from the rock and rub several sore places that have been pierced by bladed weapons. You turn to Karako to comment on the recent fervor, but stop when you see the look he is directing at you. A warm and admiring look, and an affectionate and esteeming look. A look of friendship. Your first impulse is to throw your arms around him and lean in, but on second thought, remembering his pants arsenal, you put out your hands for a warm handshake. Victory is so close. But before you can seal the deal on the sweet friendship transaction, you hear a disturbance further down the path. God, can't the narrative chill for one single moment, especially a moment when you're about to consummate a beautiful friendship? You turn to look, the footsteps, several sets of them, get nearer, and around the bend come 3 figures. 3 figures wearing swimming outfits, lots of gold jewelry, and insouciant expressions. 3 figures with gills on their necks and small, stylized fins on their face. Oh man, is it possible that you finally happened upon a group of the legendary sea dwellers? They stop short when they see you and Karako, obviously startled. They study you, you study them. The fin-head interloper 1, in a one-piece and diamond earrings, whispers to her companions, and all 3 burst out laughing. Fin-head interloper 2, in a violet wetsuit and rings, slaps her thigh, and fin-head interloper 3, in checkered swimming trunks, holds his sides. Part of you is relieved. Laughter drives out the devil. It's the best medicine, and in any event is better than homicidal mania. On the other hand, the laughter isn't friendly. It's cold, mocking, and supercilious. These sea dwellers are obviously laughing at you, not with you. You notice Karako's cheeks flushing purple under his face paint and his jaws clenching. However, he just stares with stony dignity at the interlopers. This just makes them laugh harder. Their first Sweet Dollar says, "What are you two supposed to be?" "Shrimp Cassidy and the Squamous Kid," says their second companion. "A cullbait minnow and his mutated softshell crab," says their third. "Looks like the minnow one went down on the clown, causing it to spurt out the other one." The Sweet Dollar's laughter is redoubled. You continue expressionless at these insults, but to your dismay, Karako's face is taking on a harsh, glowering look. You guess that such a tiny dude has probably been victimized by bullies his whole life, and as you happen to know, there are no bullies like Alternian bullies. Punk. You tell him to let them talk all the shit they want. Don't let them provoke him. They're trying to get him to do something stupid. If he doesn't react, they'll get bored and go away. Hunk. No, remember that drone? It's probably still around here somewhere. Touch a scale on their heads and you can be rendered into mother-grown feedstock. Hey, bottom feeders, no whispering when you're in the presence of your betters. Of your bathers. And you, little boy, put on respectable expression on your recognition surface. Be more like your friend the slender manatee over there. In fact, why is it you two are still perpendicular? In the presence of sea dwellers, you should be bowed at right anglers. The first Sweet Dollar seems to have an affinity for cheesy ocean puns. You bow to the sea dwellers, you have your dignity, but you also like not getting killed. Karako remains stubbornly upright, his face getting angry and purpler by the moment. The bladed weapon in his belt jingle from the enraged trembling. Oh, see the little clownfish, he's getting angry. Looks like he's gonna shit his pants. What did I tell you about your face, boy? Didn't your Lucis teach you anything? I doubt he even has a Lucis. A self-respecting Lucis would never let a shrimp like that out of the hive. Unless his Lucis is just defective. The Lucis cracks are too much for Karako. Ignoring your hissed warnings, he suddenly leaps, snarling into the air, drawing bladed weapons from his belt in each hand and hurtles towards the Sea Dwellers. Honk! Honk! Grab him by the coattails and try to keep him from a precipitating disaster. Leap into the fray and lend comfort and support. I mean, jumping in front of the drone helped. You leap into the fray to lend comfort and support. You would have counseled Karako to turn the other cheek and keep turning cheek after cheek until the Sweet Dollars got fed up and went away, but now that things have hotted up, you're not allowed to let down the side. Karako crashes into the Sweet Dollars, his bladed weapons whirling like a blender. You scamper close behind him and kick someone in the shin. It hurts your foot, but it doesn't have any other effect. The Sea Dwellers are made of tough stuff, or you're extremely flimsy. Signs have recently pointed to the latter. Your next sortie is more effective, however. Thinking quickly, you pick up a rock and throw it at the trigger root of the spring thorn growing along the path where the next Violet Bloods are enduring Hurricane Clown. The coiled stalk springs out, impaling the dude with a dozen-foot-long thorns. He's thrown off balance, and violet blood begins to flow copiously down his body. That's a hue you haven't seen before. Kinda pretty. But these Sweet Dollars are made of tough stuff. He yanks the spring thorn stalk out from him, pulling the thorns out, and flings it into the woods. Then he takes out a pocket handkerchief and starts patting his injuries gently. Meanwhile, Karako's bladed weapons have not been idle, and the other two Sweet Dollars are likewise leaking violet blood. But these bastards are hard to kill, and you remember Polypa telling you that. As you watch, one of them grabs one of the bladed weapons from Karako's hand and buries it in Karako's stomach. This, unsurprisingly, is distracting for our poor little clown, allowing two of the finny sons of bitches to grab handfuls of bladed weapons from his belt and bury them in various parts of his body. You dance around delivering harmless kicks and curses. Karako is still waving his weapons, but he seems to be waving them more slowly now. Then, as more and more bladed weapons are buried in his body, he seems to lose focus. The weapons he's been brandishing fall from his hands. Finally, he falls to the ground in the center of a spreading pool of purple blood, twitches feebly for a minute, and then is still. You stare in disbelief at the corpse of one who, if he had been spared just a short while longer, would have been your friend. One despised and rejected, a clown of suffering, familiar with pain. They had flogged him and mocked him and spit on him and then killed him. You struggle to come to terms with this. While you're doing that, one of the remaining Sea Dwellers grabs you by the hair and suplexes you onto the ground. Your head snaps back and pain explodes behind your eyes. You are left lying on your back and trying to stay conscious, which is why you have a good view of what happens next. In the dark sky above you, something opens. Something even darker than the sky. A hole, like a cave in the clouds. It widens until you can see that, in the cave, a carousel with wooden horses mounted on brass posts rotates, the horses plunging up and down in time with carnival music played by a mechanical organ. Riding the horses are naked store window mannequins, their legs slung awkwardly over the horses' backs, their stiff arms down their sides in whatever pose they were created, their horns huge and wildly shaped. In the darkness above the carousel, other naked mannequins with plastic wings tied to their backs are supported on wires. Plastic wings tied to their backs are supported on wires. Yeah, okay. And above these, in turn, a net of white Christmas tree lights twinkle against the roof of the dark cave, or circus tent, or whatever it is, throwing their dim starlight illumination down on the rotating carousel. Guess we get some special Stardust. We got, oh! Hey, look! Almost certainly a representation of Calliope with Gamzee, or alternatively Calliope, or, sorry, Gamzee with Caliborn, or alternatively Gamzee with Calliope. There's the Grand High Blood as well. That's neat. As you watch, two of the winged mannequins break loose from their wires and fly down from that dark region into the night sky in the dimension Alternia occupies. Those are obviously supposed to be god-tier trolls. They maneuver until their stiff hands on the ends of their stiff arms are underneath Karako, and then they lift him up into the sky and into the dark carnival. You hear a last faint reviving honk as they set him on one of the wooden horses, and then the hole in the sky closes, and there is nothing but the night sky above you. All is silent and still again. An odd feeling comes over you. You don't think you've ever felt such a feeling, just the reality of how utterly insignificant you are. Oh yeah, they're dead and in a dream bubble, absolutely. Like, this was even hinted at before that in Bulger's Path. Like, she kind of implied that she knew what happens when people die. They just go into a dream bubble. Sure, you've spent the last few months wandering with no desire but the desire for connection, and you are, in a way, a being unique in this galaxy, but honestly, what does that even mean? You flit in and out of people's lives, there one minute, gone the next, always moving from friend to friend. You are, for all intents and purposes, a virtual non-entity, a bland point of view character, a neutral second-person narrator, barely coming into the picture, a retiring entity expressing only a simple one-dimensional desire for friendship. But just about now, you feel that things have gone pretty far, and just about now, you feel that you've had about enough of arrogant high-bloods. Enough, in fact, of short-wavelength hemotypes carelessly and without compunction killing and maiming and exploiting those of longer wavelengths, of a survival-of-the-fittest regime that seemed to come down to survival of the most violent psychopaths. Is this a moral universe, or is it not? You ask yourself. Are repulsive cruelty and sickening evil punished in this universe, or are they not? Does an ethical force operate in this universe, or does it not? You don't know the answer to these questions, but you do know one thing. You intend to depart for once from your one-dimensional persona. You intend to punish repulsive cruelty and sickening evil if it comes within your ability to do so. You intend to create an ethical force field in your local region. You intend to exert some moral gravity right around where you are if you possibly can. And you realize that this odd feeling you are having seems to be drawing moral Higgs bosons out of the moral ground state and right out of the fabric of this multicolored blood-soaked planet that heaves under your feet. You take on the aspect of Clown Sucker. Seizing 2 cans of ineffective soft drink from where they fell from Karako's bandoliers, you shake them and pull the pins. Then, with malice aforethought, you directly turn the streams of the sea dwellers. You smell banana and strawberry as the deadly streams play upon them. Already weakened, they fall back with cries under the withering onslaught. As soon as the streams slacken, you take up 2 more cans, shake them, and deal up death to the unrighteous. You smell peach and diet root beer this time, but no pity softens your heart. You wouldn't care even if it were pineapple watermelon you were spraying on these brutes. But these finheads are made of tough stuff. Rallying on in the face of this intense onslaught, they push forward, and seizing some bladed weapons from the purple blood pool, advance upon you. Not one step back, you vow to the memory of Karako Pierot. You stand your ground in desperation, grabbing some cans of diet tonic water and club soda, and opening up your batteries once again, but to no avail. A trident pierces you to the bone, followed by a scimitar, a tomahawk, a short spear, and so many other bladed weapons that the sheer weight of them drives you to the ground, where your red, precious blood flows in moderate streams, mixing with the purple blood of your proto-friend. This is the end, you realize, but you are glad you died in righteous battle. You are glad you created even the tiny, sputtering, tempering moral force field in your local region that you did. You can feel your life and narrative point of view slipping away, but you are content. Yet, what's that you see above you now? A dark space has opened up, even darker than the night sky, and 2 stiff-looking waving fingers are descending. They land next to you and gently place their stiff hands under you, then they ascend once again, lifting you higher and higher into the darker space. Oh, what comfortable. As you pass the boundary of the heavenly carnival, your life seems to revive within you, and as the fabric of the place closes around you and the 2 stiff mannequins place you on a carousel horse next to Karako, you realize that planets, universities, dimensions, realities, powers, principalities, and cosmos come and go, but friendship is forever. Shh, friendship. Yay, I got a friend? Well, that was interesting. Huh. So I missed I think a bad route at the beginning there too. Run a drone. You run in a wild panic. It's a drone. Even the Alternian badasses you've hung out with have been terrified of the drones. Up close, it's one of the most terrifying things you've ever seen, and it's making noises, which you didn't know they even did, and probably means something sinister. You race at top speed down the twisting path, focusing your senses to their breaking point to avoid trigger roots, razor leaves, and acid pods. At first you hear the pattering of small feet running behind you, but as you redouble your speed, the pattering falls back and after a while is lost in the distance. You sprint for what seems a lifetime before you finally catch your foot on a trigger root and go flying through the air, barely missing being sliced into 100 pieces on tumbling ham by the barbed spring vine that lashes across the path only inches behind you. You landed the dirt, wind knocked out of you, but otherwise unhurt. You lie there catching your breath and waiting, but nothing happens. No enormous metal monster whizzes down the path or to impale you. No small clown-faced individual overtakes you in his short legs. Finally, after enough nothing happens, you pick yourself up and dust yourself off. You are alone on the path, and no sound of either friend or potential friend or foe can be heard. No birds sing, which is probably good. You imagine that any birds native to this forest would probably sing by croaking up putrid sludge, and that the sludge would be poisonous or radioactive. But leaving aside the character of the local fauna, what should you do? Keep on down the path, putting more distance between yourself and the drone, or should you go back and see if Karako is okay? You waffle for a bit, but then decide to go back. You sneak back along the path, you sneak a long way, but however far you go, there are no signs of either Karako or the drone. You don't know whether the drone picked Karako up and took him away, or disemboweled him and scattered the fragments, or whether Karako leapt into the undergrowth and hid or escaped, or what. See, just the whole point of you knowing what Karako's name is in the first place suggests, like, how would he even supposed to, like, oh no, he read the paper, right? I forgot. Like, this was his name returned to Bronya. One way or another, you're all alone again on this path through the shit-smell forest. Game over. Oopsie-doodle. Okay. So, let's see what happens if we try to keep her cool. Grab him by the coattails and try to keep him from precipitating a disaster. You leap forward and grab Karako by the coattails, or by his belt. You aren't actually sure what a coattail is. Jesus, he's strong. You can barely hold him. It's like trying to restrain a small truck. His legs rotate wildly, kicking up a cloud of dust, and he brandishes his bladed weapons wildly in the direction of the sea dwellers. After a startled moment in which they jump backward, the sea dwellers have started to laugh again, coming up with more stupid insults and fish puns. This is not helping. Karako runs twice as hard, honks twice as loud, shakes his weapons twice as threateningly. Hey, hey, you shout at Karako, trying to be heard above the fracas, holding him with all your might and digging in your heels. You have half a mind to just let him go to pay the $3 back for their insults, but you try to keep a cool head. You're doing your proto-friend but much more good trying to restrain his wrath. You've now succeeded in wrapping your arms all the way around him, and now you get in front of him, holding him back with straight arms, bellowing soothingly into his face and trying to avoid the bladed weapons he is brandishing. But it's not working. You can see from the contorted features, the bared teeth, the distended nostrils with smoke coming out, the blazing eyes, that Karako is getting more and more enraged. And suddenly his rage seems to reach a kindling point. His body vibrates violently, his eyes grow huge and round. And suddenly from his body something like a nuclear blast, a pressure wave of fear and violence sends you flying through the air like a scrap of paper in a gale. What the fuck, are you hallucinating? But you can see as you soar above the path that the sea dwellers aren't laughing anymore. In fact, they're screaming in terror and fleeing wildly, blundering into razor leaves, being impaled by spring thorns and burned by pod acid, and generally receiving the stern retribution that awaits assholes. Then your head collides with a tree branch and you are rendered unable to narrate for a while. You wake up lying in the dust. As consciousness returns, you realize that you're lying on the path, and as it returns further, that a small clown-painted figure is seated next to you. Quite calm now. He smiles fondly as he sees you sit up. Honk! You smile in return. You express relief that he realizes you are acting in his best interest, holding him back from the finheads, and although largely because of this unexpected burst of clown sorcery or whatever that was, everything has turned out for the best. Karako holds up his arms for a hug, but then remembering the bladed weapons in his belt, sticks out his hand. You shake it warmly. Yay, friends! Okay. So what I know about Karako is that he is Caprera, the Unwavering, and he's a hero of mind. So I definitely view him as a Prince of Mind, though, for a couple of key reasons. So one is his extremely destructive nature, wrathful and that like. That could stem from just his like ideals as being like part of his caste, that kind of thing. But I think it's more likely that he is genuinely just destructive in nature. So almost certainly a prince. The other reason is, like, there was a couple other things he did that were, like, either destroying mines or using mines to destroy. Like, again, the Sea Dwellers. There's also the fact that he seems to be able to communicate with you quite well. Like, parts of his narrative seems to be like he's destroying logic a bit. Like, it's, hey, logically, the main character shouldn't be, like, getting all these things from your conversation in honks and, like, that kind of thing in general, but he is. Yeah. Most likely that he's a prince. Prince sounds good. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. You know, even the whole, like, he's unwavering. Princes tend to be, like, pretty unwavering and, like, adamant in their paths and not really, like, letting go. Just sort of barreling through. Also kind of what he's doing. Okay. Now time for this friendly person, Marsti Houtek. Despite a certain sense of pervading existential gloom that you haven't managed to shake even after communing with a possible Oracle secret agent. Oh, yes, I like that word. Hold on. Oracle. I knew it. I called it. I do believe that Buldir is a mage, so that's why. You are feeling pretty alright. Or, like, the word Oracle is only ever used in terms of, like, seers and mages and that kind of thing, so it's like, she's almost certainly a mage. I have seen those theories that, like, Buldir is, like, a muse, but not really. She hasn't done really anything on the level of, like, a muse. She has, like, a lot of, like, symbolism of Calliope, but that doesn't mean that she's a muse like Calliope. Karaka has symbolism of all the cherubs, but he's still a knight. No more brooding in your cliffside apartment. You have a fresh thirst for this evening, a thirst for friendship. You're wandering around in a neighborhood that you haven't seen in a while, just a few blocks from where you crash landed. Maybe you'll go pay a visit to the crash site of your ship, even though it's been long since stripped for parts by the local population. Or maybe you'll try to find Demon to say hi, though you're pretty sure he's still living the nomadic shrubbery lifestyle. You're just here for the nostalgia, honestly. Malay's who? You hardly know her. Just then, from across the street, echoes two voices raised in argument. Well, one is soft and murmuring, and one is loud and honking. A rust blood girl and a purple blood guy are squared off in front of the patch of graffiti that blooms over the bricks like moss. The girl appears to be in the process of scrubbing it away. There's a mop bucket and a collection of sponges next to her. People are already theorizing that Karako is a lord. Yeah, again, like, I don't see it at all. The whole point of lords and muses is, like, the one, like, defining thing that connects them together is their work through the masses. Like, Karako is a munchkin living in the woods, right? Like, he's not working through he doesn't have any kind of servants. There's nothing, like, same with Buldir, like, she doesn't really work through the masses, she works through the main character, but that's not enough. Like, lords and muses are not, like, they're not your everyday class specs. They're assigned to people of worthy and renown and, like, of note. Like, people who influence entire societies would be, I would think, if, like, because I usually think, like, figures in mythology or, like, lords, gods, like, that kind of thing are usually reserved for lords and muses, but President of the United States could be a lord, right? Fucking Trump could be a lord, obviously. That kind of thing. But they have to be, like, influencers of society. Like, their pinky moves and, like, it changes whole swaths of neighborhoods, that kind of thing. Karako and Buldir just don't have that scope. They just don't. Okay, anyway, the girl appears to be in the process of scrubbing it away. There's a mop bucket and a collection of sponges next to her. And I told you, this shit is sacred motherfucking iconography, the purple blood's saying, so fuck the hell off, little red dumpling. The rest blood says something back to him that makes him laugh. The sacred iconography appears to be a collection of swear words and a couple colorful renderings of certain sections of troll anatomy you've not yet had the chance to explore. Is that what that is? Is that troll dick? Oh god. The girl with the bucket wrigs her sponge out and stares the clown down. Well, you assume she's staring him down. She's wearing big round goggles to match the bright rubber gloves pulled all the way up to her elbows. Despite the mop bucket, she looks more like a scientist from a B-grade horror movie than a janitor. The purple blood doesn't have any visible weapons on him, but that doesn't make him look any less dangerous. And unless the girl has a blade in that mop handle, she's totally defenseless. You face this precise scenario more than once, but it doesn't get any easier. No matter how much self-confidence you earn or hardships you endure, life or death friendship decisions don't get any easier. Intervene. Who are you kidding? You were never going to leave her to fend for herself. It's against your religion. Your religion of reflexively and ceaselessly searching for new buddies. You aren't making excuses for it anymore. You've decided to take what Boldier said to heart, and just resign yourself to your fate. Well, that isn't exactly what she said, but a lot of it was confusing and spooky. You're half convinced she was doing it for the mysterious aesthetic. You stride confidently towards the altercation, calling out a challenge to the rogue clown. Nobody messes with the less fortunate while you were on the case. And since it's been a resoundingly too long since you've had a truly ironic and hilarious twist of fate befall you, as soon as you step up into the sidewalk, the purple blood's fist connects with your head, and your head connects with concrete. Yep. Makes sense? As for this one, Marsti, I know that she's a hero of Void. And that's about all I got for her right now. Her, him, I don't know. It looks like a her. Eh. Alright, let's mind my own business for once in my life. Listen, you aren't the goddamn alien special forces, you aren't the friendship police. You can't afford to insert yourself into the middle of every single altercation in hopes that the drunken gamble of destiny will offer up new and greater connections to your sore, tired ass. You aren't made of goodwill alone. Everyone needs breaks, man. You march casually by, hands behind your back. If you knew how to whistle, you would. Nothing to see here, folks. Feet smack the ground behind you, and the girl runs by, surprisingly spry in the rubber boots. Not spry enough, apparently, because the high blood is hot in her heels. Nope, not helping. Definitely not. Don't get involved. Don't get involved. You already made your choice. You're not getting involved. At the last moment, you stick out one of your famous legs, and the clown goes flying. He hits the pavement hard, nose first. Son of a bitch. There you went and got involved. The high blood might be kissing concrete, but he won't be for very long. It's a tough to kill a clown. You take this opportunity to get the fuck out. Damn, you don't know anybody around here. Maybe you can run back to your stolen vehicle before... Hands grab you by the back of the hoodie, hauling you around the corner and into the shadows of an alleyway. Shit, the clown must have friends, and those friends must circle behind you. You open your mouth to scream, not just because you think anyone is going to help, but just because you might as well. If you can't go out fighting, you might as well go out making as much noise and being as obnoxious as possible. A rubber-gloved hand slaps over your mouth before you can get out more than a squeak. You taste soap. Chill. Stop struggling. It's the Rust Blood girl. She's taken the time you brought her and cashed in and taken refuge in an alleyway. The two of you hold still as the purple blood storms by, stomping and cursing and bleeding from a gash across his forehead. Ha! You did that! Your leg did that! You will never get over the rush you receive from doing something cool and competent. Marsti holds on to you until the sound of his footsteps fade. You feel her heartbeat hammering against your back. She lets you go and slides away to the other side of the alley as if an apology for being so close to you before. Her boots squeak. You take a few steps nearer so you don't have to shout to be heard. You think of helping. And you're both just all about helping, apparently. You decide not to mention the part where you tried very hard to not get involved. Yeah. You didn't have to do that? Actually, you shouldn't have. I'm perfectly capable of tripping my own clowns. You tell her that's no doubt that's true. Even if she doesn't have a sword in her mop handle, she seems to have a good pair of legs. Mentioning her mop appears to remind her that she left all her cleaning equipment out on the street. She takes a furtive glance back down the way the guy had gone, then heads back towards the graffiti. You scamper to keep up. You shouldn't be out alone in a place like this. Not that I can really summon much gumption to care beyond this one walk down the street. But you did come here to die. But did you come here to die? Because that's what's going to happen if you keep this shit up. What's your deal? You don't know about your deal. You've worked really hard to not consider your deal at all, because the existential radio static that prickles at the base of your neck when you think about your deals is astoundingly unpleasant. Attempting to change the subject, you ask her if maybe she shouldn't get out of here while she has the chance. Is that bucket really that important to her? Marsti looks at you with a certain eyebrow raise that you're well accustomed to by now. Oh shit, you just put your foot in again, culture-wise. You wish you could find a book with a crash course in Alternia, or at least a decent Wikipedia article, but it's not like there's any helpful Earth guide for idiots. At least you've never heard of one. Besides, things are different depending on where you are on Earth, geographically. You imagine it's the same for Alternia. You feel positively nauseated at the idea of having to learn a whole new set of societal norms. You'll just stay in this particular city, thank you very much. Do I care about my bucket? It's kind of a weird way to phrase it. I want to care about it as much as the next person who doesn't want to get cold. Also, scour drays don't grow on a carnivorous fauna. She tosses the discarded sponges back into the bucket. You bend down to help, but she stops you with a sardonic glance. Most of her glasses are sardonic, but this one is especially so. She goes back to work on the graffiti. If you're going to hang around, you can make yourself less useless. Watch and make sure that high blood doesn't come back. Oh yeah, for sure, you can totally do that. Of course, you won't be able to actually do anything if he comes back to where's Emily when you need her. Maybe you can use your own limp corpse to slow the clown down. Not that you know Marsti well enough yet to love the idea of sacrificing yourself for her. Man, character development is great. Not immediately going to your death is great. That alone sends a creepy wash of anxiety along your spine. You don't understand it, so you try to distract yourself. You ask Marsti if she just cleans graffiti or if she has other jobs. Okay, well, maybe not jobs. You know nobody on Altaria has an actual job. Whatever I'm feeling, mostly. Today I was feeling getting rid of this incredibly ugly piece of shit drawing. Tomorrow I might be feeling dirty front door mats. Depends on my mood. Yeah, you def get that. You're also a person of mercurial moods. Do you seek out new friends tonight, or go to one of your standby pals? Sometimes the universe just sweeps in and decides for you. Yeah, well, you were extremely weird and focused on weird shit, but also kind of magnetic at the same time. It's freaking me out. Wow, thank you. Marsti dunks her sponge back in her bucket, or scoured, right? Buckets are dirty. The drones don't make it down here very often, so there's a lot of shit to scrub. You tell her it's cool that she likes cleaning so much. Where you're from, physical labor is considered morally virtuous, but also kind of looked down on? Fuck, maybe you could use an Earth Cultural Handbook for your own damn self. Who said anything about liking it? Who made the rule that I can only do what I like? She slams the sponge down hard on her scour tray, getting water down the front of her apron. This is just what I do. Right, red bloods. What, do you like wandering around in someone else's hoodie? Accosting strangers? Kind of. Sometimes. You didn't choose the friend life chose you. But Marsti isn't a stranger in a strange world like you are. She's got horns and gray skin and everything. You realize she's rusty, but come on. Oh yeah. How many burgundies do you know exactly? Well, one. And he's interested in, meat. But he's pretty enthusiastic about it. One might say, over-enthusiastic? You think I'm not enthusiastic? She scrubs harder to show you just how enthusiastic she can be. A delicate calligraphy-based rendering of the word globe gobbler disappears between her soapy hands. Okay, maybe Demon isn't the greatest example of someone enjoying their hobbies in a healthy and natural way, but you know plenty of other lowbloods with cool hobbies. Skilla, Chixie, Serava. Am I supposed to know who those idiots are? Not all lowbloods know each other. Oh man, that's not what you meant, doll. I'm not going to explain my life story to some random alien. Are you going to help or not? Oh well, you thought you were supposed to be keeping an eye out for clowns? Yeah, well, instead you were asking me invasive questions. So now help me scrub. Despite these mixed signals, you pick up a sponge and start cleaning. This is actually a lot harder work than it should look like, and your back and shoulders begin to ache immediately. If Marsti does this every day, she must be ripped under that jacket. She stops talking, and you just clean alongside her, worried that you're royally screwing this up. You don't know how to fix it. The graffiti is quickly disappearing between your combined efforts, and you aren't sure how much longer she's going to put up with you after that, and you've got to pull out the big friendship guns and fast. You ask in your characteristically smooth style what she's doing after this. Any plans, just hypothetically? Who knows? Probably I'll just looking for more shit to clean. Well, it just so happens you know of a lot of dirty places, just exceptionally filthy. Oh yeah? Where? Try uptown, try downtown. Uptown girl, you may never know your wife. Okay. It just so happens that you have connections. Uptown girls and boys. You ask Marsti how she'd like to clean a mansion. I guess that'd be cool. What are you thinking? Well, first of all, you want to bring your new friend to your swank-stolen car. Marsti doesn't seem that interested, although she does comment she's never been in a scuttlebuggy. Then she begins picking up the crumbs from your backseat. You tell her she doesn't have to clean up after you. Bold of you to assume I'm doing it for you. You shrug. You've just come to accept that some of your friends are just fundamentally difficult to understand. Some days you really think you're beginning to get it, and the next you remember that alien isn't just your immigration status. Marsti stares out the window as the houses get bigger and grander. The car passes beneath an archway, and a light sweeps over the two of you. Marsti stiffens. You tell her not to worry, it's just a sensor to discern your blood color. Malik gave you the plug-in to scramble it, no stress. Must be nice to have friends in high places. You ask Marsti where she lives. Wherever I feel like. Depends. So she's just like Damon. Her hive was destroyed, or possibly up a tree like Baldur, although it's possible she was just fucking with you. I wish you stopped comparing me to people like I should know what you're talking about. And no, my hive is fine. It just gets boring cleaning the same fucking building over and over again. You get how that can be cool, going from place to place, like Demon goes looking for meat, and Conal and Asdaya look for people to kill. Everyone here seems weirdly obsessive and hyperfixated. Maybe that's what happens when you bring up a bunch of kids in a robot-regulated world where the only rule is don't get cold, and by the way, some of you are inherently inferior. Have fun. As you get closer to Zebra's hive... Zebra, oh god. You begin to get chilly strip pods. What if he tries to make Marsti into one of his, guests? He has that weird thing for lowbloods. You figure she'll be safe if she's with you, but you aren't always the best at making good decisions when you have more than one friend to deal with at once. The sight of Zebra's Lucis glaring at you from an upstairs window cinches it, if you can't take another condescending stare from Zebra Dad. Where are we going? I hope you weren't talking about this pathetic mess on the seat. Barely worth my time. You can make a better mess, you swear. Ugh, no. I don't want a staged mess. Fuck, okay. Who do you know who's a kind of a slob but also not a total piece of shit? Gallic? Goat Dad lets you in with a hysterically happy bleat. Aw, missed you too, Goat Dad. Goat Dad. Marsti weathers his snuffling and nuzzles, and when he tries to eat one of her rubber gloves, she scratches him behind the ears as a distraction. She gently removes the glove from his mouth. I need these, actually. You call to Gallic, but he doesn't respond. Maybe he's out. Oh no. The coffee pot is half full, but it's cold. Goat Dad bleats and butts you gently. Aw, poor guy, are you lonely? Has Gallic been neglecting you now that he has a hate boyfriend? Marsti is a little more uncomfortable here than she had been in your car, but when she catches sight of Gallic's study, all of that sloughs off. It's even more of a mess than it had been last time you were here, when he'd been trying to impress you with his intellectual clutter. He has a picture framed of his own house. She gets down to work immediately, stacking books alphabetically and sorting papers into piles by subject. You know Gallic is an A-type personality who will probably go briefly ballistic at the knowledge someone has messed with his stuff, but Marsti is just so organized and thorough. You feel sort of weird about just standing here and watching her clean, so you gather up all the used dishes and bring them into the kitchen. So, Marsti is like, I'm almost certain she's a Sylph. She cannot help but fix it. Fix the thing. Make it clean, fix it up, organize it, do the thing, like, to an almost, like, obsessive-compulsive degree. I'm almost certain that's the case. Plus, you would think Sylphs would be, like, all about meddling and getting into people, like, socially and that kind of thing, but it kind of balances well with her aspect being actually void. So she's like, I'm just gonna fix and meddle things on my own and not really interact with other people much. It's kind of neat. When you're done with that, you figure you'll just try to be more entertaining. You ask her if she's seen any movies recently. Since you've made friends with Zabid and started hanging out with Tagiri's anime club, you've been exposed to multiple cultural touchstones. Yeah, I also dislike Zebra more. A lot more. Some of those implying to be like, yeah, you said, I wonder if Zebra or Cronus is hated more. Last I checked, Cronus didn't have literal slaves. And like, yeah, some of those are also like sex slaves too, so it's a bit even worse. Yeah, I don't really watch much TV. Don't worry, I don't need to be entertained. She kneels down to start dusting beneath the couch. I know you think I'm basic, and that's fine. I don't really give a shit what anyone thinks. Let alone a condescending alien with no blood color to speak of. Yikes. So if you wouldn't mind. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh no. Crunch, crunch, crunch. What the hell is that noise? And there you go again, getting briefly swept up in a friendship endeavor and totally beefing it. You forgot about Goat Dad's propensity for nomming on anything within reach, and you spent the last 10 minutes happily munching on several leather-bound notebooks. Gallic's experimental word rumpuses. Fuck, he loves those. He's gonna murder you. To smooth another layer onto this farce, the front door creaks open and Gallic's voice rings out, calling to Goat Dad, who lets out an excited bleat and scampers off, trailing little white scraps. Marsti looks from you to the front of the house and down to the paper trail, then she's out the window and off the hill because though basic she may be, she's no idiot. What are you doing in my personal study? Scamper, scamper. She just nopes out of there. Okie dokie. So that got us killed. This is the living path. And I guess we're gonna try downtown. You suggested this place sure looks right for some serious power cleaning, cause wow, filthy. Yeah, I guess. I was planning on cleaning down here anyway. The drones mostly take care of the high blood neighborhoods. Interesting. Zebra had low bloods cleaning for him, but maybe he's an exception. I'm not here to explain cultural dynamics to you. At least not for free. You consider mentioning that you are the main character and thus totally deserving of cultural exposition, but you doubt she'd take that well. Also, it's kind of a weird thing to say, so never mind that. To show Marsti and Ali you recognize, the one with the incinerator where Polibut had gotten rid of her assassination disguise. Here, maybe? Too easy. Okay, well, what about this stretch of road where Remley killed a dude? There's still quite a bit of purple blood splattered around. Pretty good. But no. I don't have the right outfit for blood. Jesus, picky. Oh, sorry. Are my personal preferences inconveniencing you? No, but you aren't used to the shit taking so long to pop off. Usually you've made a friend by this point, or you've been killed. What's my favorite Hiveswap troll? I kind of really like... like Branya. Branya's a good one. There's kind of a lot of them right now, so it's like, if I look down through the list, Demon's cute. He's kind of like, oh, a little hot dog boyo. He's also like one of the first ones I really interact with, so it's kind of sticks out there. Kind of like Gallic's, not Gallic himself, but his boyfriend, the hacker troll. He's kind of cute. In terms of like interestingness and like character and stuff, though, Boldier's pretty high up there as well. Like, just I like the thought of Boldier a lot. But yeah, either like Branya or Gallic's boyfriend, I forget his name. Demon and Boldier, yeah. Tizius is kind of neat too, yeah. And Remley. I kind of like them all a lot. Like, I like them all like in their own various little ways, except for Zebra. Zebra sucks. The only one I think I wouldn't like as well either is like the first Cerulean. It's not Remley, not Amicia, but the one with the tick and the blood and like the death basement. I don't quite like her as much. I didn't really get the point of her. She's fun to voice act as hell though. But yeah. You've been killed before? What are you, a purbeast? 9 lives? In retrospect, Ardata, yeah, that's the one. In retrospect, that was also a pretty weird thing to say. He meant it as a metaphor. Sometimes your internal monologue gets out of hand and spills out your interlocution. Whatever, dude. You're considering just bringing her back to your place to clean up the mess you made there when you realize Marsti's no longer with you. Oh yeah, Cooperman and Follicle I don't really care for much either, because there just kind of wasn't much there, and they're both kind of assholes. You turn around to find her gazing down an adjacent street into an empty lot. The space gives you a brief twinge of recognition before it fizzles away to nothing. Probably just deja vu. At first you don't notice the person sitting on the tire pile because without her other half, her silhouette is underwhelming. Oh hey, look at this. Ooh, it's familiar. Oh, fantastic. Hey, Normie. Hey, damn. You. Oh, hi, Follicle. It's been a while. She might notice that you are a whole lot less normal than you used to be. They're right, they're weird as hell. Hey, you're also, like, 80% more confident than you used to be. You don't back down from insults, because perhaps Marsti is the one who's weird, because she's the one who's fucking into cleaning up after people. That's really strange. Hey, that's a little judgy. Yeah, for real. Oh, you had been expecting Follicle to join you in mocking Marsti. You didn't really want to be too mean or anything. You just really sick of having your intelligence insulted concerning stuff you absolutely could have no way of knowing about. You wanted to make her look like an asshole, but as usual, it seems to be in fact you are the asshole. Marsti seems to agree. Hey, maybe go fuck yourself a little bit. You apologize. You didn't mean it. You just experienced pilot confusion when there's too many friends in one place. You're sorry. You don't mean to insult her hobby, but she actually doesn't really seem too into it. You're just trying to help. You know plenty of lowbloods who do all sorts of activities. Yeah? Who? Well, Follicle, for instance, she trolls- wait, you didn't know the word. She and her boyfriend, harass people, and they seem to enjoy that. Also, there's Skilla and Chixie and Sarava, they all excel in their fields to a certain extent. Right. So, how's that going for them? Well, you deflate somewhat. Chixie gets skeeved on all the time, and Skilla constantly has to defend her home and loses against thieves. Sarava literally has to gouge out their own eye and downplay their psychic power. Vicari, well, near you can tell Vicari is having a great time falling off cliffs and imagining the firmament above. He might be an outlier and therefore shouldn't be counted. While you're working through your apparent classism through navel-gazing monologue, Marsti is checking Follicle out, like, really checking her out. Who the fuck are you? Follicle slaps Marsti's hand away. Keep your fronds to yourself. Marsti raises her goggles up to her forehead. Oh, dang, you have eyes. You've got void rot. No shit, troll Sherlock. Marsti gives her another once-over. She looks impressed. You honestly can't blame her. If Marsti likes grimy things, well, Follicle's right up her alley. Dirt El Dorado. Selfishly, you'd wish you'd met Marsti back when you were more of a wreck at the beginning of your adventure. You're filthy. And you have no idea what you're talking about. Also, fuck you. Is there a bit of spades going on here? Shades of spades? Marsti touches her on the forehead, slowly this time, so as not to take her by surprise. Follicle resembles a nervous little bug trying to decide whether or not to scuttle away. Did you think the dirt helped keep you insulated? It's actually the opposite of that. If you were less grimy, the energy transfer would be easier. Alright, Croup isn't here, which means her giant battery isn't here either. Yeah, I sent him out for takeout. I needed a break. But won't she, you know, die? Not instantly. Does your house die as soon as you unplug it? What are you, fucking void rot scholar? What do you know? Hey, just started to know things about Void. She's a Void player. I know a lot of things. You ask Marsti if she's interested in medicine, but maybe she could go into that. Marsti rounds into you in stark irritation. This is the most emotion she's shown since you've met her. I can't believe you're the first one who I heard say that this was Spades. Really? I mean, they started off insulting each other. That's kind of a clear indication. Whatever you're trying to do here, stop. I'm not stupid. What do you think they'll say if I applied to be a medic off-planet? They'd laugh their asses off and hand me a saturated scrub pole. And that's if they're feeling generous. This is what I do, so let me do it. Chase sounded uncharacteristically speechless. You nod and let Marsti turn back to Follicle. You really don't want to leave it like that, but maybe the truly friendly thing here would be less trying to improve your friend's life and just letting them live it. Damon has told you much the same thing all those months ago. That he's planning to just keep his head down and try to stay alive. It's not uplifting, but maybe not everything has to be. Marsti gave Follicle some advice as to the best way to make sure her body retains as much energy as possible. Follicle groans, and you're pretty sure that if she had eyes, she'd be rolling them. You do notice, however, that she listens. Yeah, they're intentionally being a little bit antagonistic to her, like, Marsti is trying to give her advice because she does genuinely like her, but it's coming off as Spadesy because she's giving condescending advice. Something like, hey, you person with the void rot, I know you have void rot, but here, I'm gonna tell you all about void rot. But, you know, Follicle seems to be, like, receptive to it. Marsti starts back down the sidewalk after that, pushing her scour tray in front of her. After a moment's hesitation, you follow, half expecting her to get mad again. Instead, she slows down, so you catch up. She's pulled her goggles back down over her eyes. You think they're probably more there for social reasons than protective ones. Sheepishly, you apologize for being a busybody back there. You're just really used to wanting to help people out. Kind of for selfish reasons, friendship reasons, but still. Yeah, it's fine. No hard feelings. You just like fixing things when they're busted, or when you busted them through your own chronic idiocy. Sometimes you just got to do what you can, but you think Marsti might understand that a little bit. Hey, they're being kind of really on the nose about the whole, she likes to fix things, she likes to clean things, she likes to organize things, she likes to make things proper. So, probably a Sylph. Yeah, I think I might. Sometimes it be like that. Yay! Alright, that was pretty easy. They were both pretty interesting characters, actually. I thought Karako was gonna be more interesting than he turned out to be, but eh. Karako Pierot, Caprera the Unwavering Prince of Mind. Marsti Houtek, Arbiterius, the Astronaut. Interesting. The Sylph of Void. Cool. That was really easy. Well, it wasn't easy, but like, pretty on the nose. So I guess that's that. I will see you guys when the next one comes out. I think there's only 4 left. So, like, there's gonna be 18 total. 8 more characters to go. Bye-bye!